Welcome to our final episode of the Quality Quarantine series. I cannot believe it's been 6 weeks. We thought, we'll do this for a week or two, 6 weeks later. But, since summer is getting started, y'all are on your own at that point because you've had to figure it out in the past, so you can figure it out now. But in the meantime, you have 6 weeks worth of material that are coming from us. But before we start on today, we want to give a shout out to a very special Mama Bear who has basically taken part in every single Quality Quarantine that we've done.
Woohoo!
And posted pictures and advertised it. And so, Lindsay, tell us about this extra special Mama Bear.
Yeah, so this is Chris, and I'm going to share her latest post. So let's see how I do it here. Last week we talked about sowing seeds, planting, as well as sewing buttons and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so she shared with us this lovely photo of their newly planted tomatoes.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they end up being, but you can kind of see she explains there what she did every day, and she did this each week for us. So like on Training Tuesday, they learned how to thread a needle. They were going to learn how to sew on a button, but threading a needle was all they could handle that day.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, she really used this opportunity to kind of speak with her friends about what she was doing to keep her kids busy. I think they have like 6 kids.
Yeah.
So we just want to really thank Chris for faithfully participating with us throughout every week of Quality Quarantine. And Chris, if you could please send me a private message through the Mama Bear page. I'd love to connect with you one-on-one. If you can't figure it out, I'll try to send you a message tomorrow to connect with you as well, because I really would like to talk with you a little bit about what happened with Quality Quarantine.
Yep, and we want to just offer you something a little special, a little extra for being such an amazing supporter. So, and taking this opportunity, making us feel like this time that we're giving up, that someone's actually benefiting from it. That to me is like, that's the end all be all, to see that someone actually benefited from the time, because it takes a while to do these, and yeah. So thank you for that. So today on our Fun and Fellowship Friday, it's fun, but it also has a purpose. We are going to be talking about making forts. So fort making was something that even my sister and I did when we were young. We used to have this giant grand piano, and so the thing that went down on the keys, we would tuck a sheet up underneath it and then close the thing on the keys, and then we would spread it out and put other things. That there's something sublime, especially when you're small, because I was always really small for my age. Having something that's your size, that's like, this is my space right here, and it's too small for an adult to get into. And so it's just kind of this cocoon of safety, that even though this is something, it's fun to do, we have to understand that there is also something psychological with this, of kids where they maybe have been experiencing so many different things and different emotions, feeling like they have permission, like maybe sometimes to make a little bit of a mess, a controlled mess, and in certain places, you still have control over the house, but feeling like they can change up in their environment to where it's something that's theirs. And I was giving the ladies an example that we don't just see this within humans, we see this in the animal kingdom, that they have studies where, I'm not sure, I was going to say, I'm not sure how they measure this, but I do know how they measure this, well-being within pigs, that they can measure like how happy they are by how much they root around stuff with, their nose, because they're rooters. I think that's what it's called. There's a specific name for it, but I can't remember. But changing out the toys that they have in their environment on a regular basis basically made happier and healthier pigs, because they needed to have that variety in their environment. And how much more for us when we are in a shelter in place, everything's always the same, to be able to create a new environment, where they have stimulation, but they can also kind of feel like I can go somewhere safe if I need to. But as we were recording, actually, Lindsay was laughing because her kids were actually in the other room creating a fort. I don't know if you gave them that idea or if they came up with it on their own.
Well, they make forts a lot. When they did, they actually, my husband has a workout, like a gym in our garage,
Mhm.
which has proved very useful since all the gyms are closed. So I'm really grateful that he bought that. But the girls took it upon themselves to build a fort out in our garage with
Oh,
that. I
perfect.
don't have a
Huh.
photo, but they actually spent the night out there in their
Oh,
fort
how
in the
fun.
garage.
good.
And that was super fun for them. But while we were recording the first couple of videos, I'm going to share screen again. They built a mini fort in our living room with our couch. But you can see, like, I'm not gonna fit in,
Oh,
but
it's like a little cubby.
door. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a little door. Oh, that's my daughter's puppy blanket from my mom, and she
Aw.
doesn't go anywhere without that blanket. But
Oh,
yeah, so you can go kind of in there to the left or the right, but that's not mom size, right? That's kid size. And
Mhm.
so those kids can fit, my kids can fit in there. But it's not necessarily one that I'm going to crawl into, although I have been invited in. So I may be going in after
Ooh.
this recording is
That's
over.
actually a
Oh,
big deal
that's
that they
fun.
invited you in.
yeah.
Yeah. I used to build, well, I didn't build a lot of forts because I was an only child, and that's not like an activity a lot of
It's not
only
as fun
children.
by yourself.
But I would like build a little tent type area where I could read, like a reading nook.
Mhm.
My dad built me a fort once, kind of up away from everybody else. It was in our yard, and it wasn't a tree house necessarily, but I would think it was a fort. It had a covering over it, so I could sit up there and read. But it was my space and where I could go to
Mhm.
kind of get away from everything else. And I think,
Mhm.
especially right now, it sounds counterintuitive to say, let's build a place where you can be by yourself when we're by ourselves.
Yeah.
But as an introvert, I can tell you, like, I haven't had a lot of alone time in the last
Mhm.
6 weeks. And that's not how I function well. And
Mhm.
so recognizing that I might need a little bit of space. And so actually I've given myself time as a space. And then I've started writing in a gratitude journal. But getting myself in a little nook where I can do that by myself. It's not necessarily a fort, but I can imagine an adult like sitting under their desk or, finding a spot where they can be by themselves. It's not just for kids.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do to get yourself mentally right and prepared for the day, because this can be really stressful for everyone. And if you want to participate in building a fort, make one that's really awesome and have dinner in it with your
Oh, I like
kids.
that.
Oh, that's a cute idea.
Do something that is special and fun, and maybe something that you wouldn't do outside of this COVID experience.
Mhm.
But something that when they're, 5 years from now, go, oh my gosh, do you remember what we did during COVID? And they can kind of think about, like, these are the things that we did. How weird,
Yeah.
but also how awesome.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be good
It'll be
memories.
good, like, reflection
Yep.
for them.
Yeah. And there's so many different spots around the house you can do that. Like Lindsay, you showed yours like on the couch, turn to that
Yeah.
Hillary you shared with, like the piano. And I
Mhm.
know I have 2 nephews and they're like 18, well, probably like 20 months. I'm sorry. I'm so bad with that. 20 months and like 3. And right as this started, my brother and sister-in-law bought them like a little teepee. And so like they set it up, like in one of the rooms in their house. And so that's where the boys keep like their books. And like my older nephew will like read to the younger one. And when his mom tried to come in one day, he was like, privacy, please, privacy, please. And then the
That 3-year-old,
Yeah.
you've got an introvert at that point.
Well, the funny thing is, I think he's an extrovert, but he's just he just knows what he wants. And sometimes when he wants alone time,
Yeah.
but then he also is obsessed with reptiles right now. And so he has all these plastic snakes. And so he set up a snake zoo in his closet. Cause he's short. So like all his clothes are hung up high. And so when he was FaceTiming with my mom a few days ago, he was like, Graham, do you want to see my snake zoo? And he takes her in the closet, and sometimes he just goes and sits in there and plays with them. So there's so many different places around your house, that you can just get creative and give some of your kids are probably already thinking of these things on their own, just, with the creativity God's given them. And if not, suggest some of those things, the different spots around your house, the garage, the couch, the piano, the closet, wherever.
Yeah, lots of different places. So I don't know. That was one of my favorite memories growing up. I'm sure. I'm glad that your girls are making memories like that. And yeah, so let's let them build forts.
Let them build forts.
And so as this is our final quality quarantine, I just had this kind of prayer in my heart that I wanted to leave everyone with. It's kind of like a bookend of doxologies from the Old Testament and the New Testament put together. So the first one is from Numbers 6:24 through 26. And the second one is from Ephesians 2:20 through 21. And I would just like to pray this over all the mama bears that were listening. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance toward you and give you peace. Now to him who is able to do much more than we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you for being a part of our Quality Quarantine series. We continue
Elizabeth,
to pray.
it has been so fun to be with you.
I know.
And do this
I've
with
loved collaborating with you ladies. It has been just, I've looked forward to it every weekend.
And just props for Elizabeth for reaching out to us and saying, hey, let's do this together. Let's collaborate on this. And so
Yeah, I was driving home through Amarillo and Hillary called me. She's like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what just happened. I was so excited, Elizabeth. So we've been excited since day one to be part of it.
I love opportunities to collaborate with other ministries. So thank y'all so much for being with us, and stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.